We all have a routine, but is yours built on growth, or is it just a collection of coping skills cobbled together to help you survive the next day? Many of us feel like burnout is something that happens to us, but what if the call is coming from within the house?
I think if we have more intention in the way that we show up and live our lives, we potentially could have a little bit more of that balance and not be on that, bullet train to burnout.
Tons of little articles or lists that tell you get a massage, take a day off, go to the park, spend time with friends, the normal things, right?
Yeah.
I would do all of those things. They weren't helping me find balance and happiness.
Yeah.
They were keeping me out of a mental institution. I mean, frankly, they were keeping me just 2 steps back from the brink of a full mental breakdown.
Today, Chris and Jen slow down the bullet train to burnout to discuss why self-care isn't just about a checklist. It's about radical accountability and the courage to listen to what your body is truly saying. We explore how to move from a life of reaction to a life of intention, even when it feels like you're walking a balance beam right on the edge. Let's get into it.
Welcome to Chris and Jen in the Morning.
Where self-care meets real life.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Jen.
And welcome back to another exciting episode that we are going to talk about self-care.
Self-care. We are going to talk about self-care. In fact, I'm practicing a little bit of self-care today by making our producer swap out my camera for 720p because I have to be sans makeup, and the only way I'm getting in front of you all on recording without some slight barrier is 720p.
And not the usual lighting setup.
And not the usual lighting setup. But here I am. Nonetheless, I feel like that's still, a little brave.
Yeah, I mean,
and
I know
also, I'm
there was
irritated that it's brave because, why do we have to wear it? Why is that like a socially norm thing?
Right. Well, I'm glad that we were able to still make it happen because I know there was a little bit of a question mark depending on where you were on this journey. So
yeah, I had a week this week.
You sure did.
Crazy. It's crazy. But I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be doing better. And I'm excited to have this conversation about self-care, which I think is really fitting.
Yeah. So if you're new here, Jen and I started this podcast because we wanted to build this community around supporting one another, finding joy in life and the way that we live it in a time that it's not always easy to identify those things. So we invite you to join this community. Please follow, subscribe, like us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, your favorite podcast platform, and join the conversation with us because this isn't just about us. We are sharing, but we also want to hear how others are making time for self-care in their lives.
Yeah, and we're going to start out the conversation of how we manage self-care in our lives by talking about burnout. And I've got a hot take on burnout. But before you all hear my hot take on burnout, and we'll watch Chris's reaction, he's heard me say it before. But before we get into that, let's do gratitude moments.
Yes.
And Chris, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, I'm happy to. It is the turning of the season here in New York, and the weather is finally getting to where it's enjoyable to be outside. You maybe only need a light jacket. And so as I've started going into the office more, I'm spending more time outside. And so just being able to soak up the sun and just see everything flowering and budding, it's just a great reminder that, as whatever is happening in life happens, it's all in cycles, and we, give it a few weeks and things will change. Different things happen. So it has just been a great week in the city for spring. So it's refreshing.
I need some photos.
Okay. Yeah.
I need some photos. I was out taking photos this morning. I got a great cardinal last night. I got the egret that likes to hang out in the little swamp pond next to my house. Yeah, I love the turning of the seasons. It's well, except for my allergies. My allergies hate it, but
I take a daily allergy pill for that reason.
I wish that I could say that was enough. But it is still beautiful. My gratitude moment today, how could it be anything other than I'm just incredibly grateful for the so many people that care so much about me and lean in when I need a little extra help to care for myself. And particularly, Chris, like here I got out of the had a little hospital stay. I got out of the hospital and I thought, oh, being discharged from the hospital means the next day you're all better. You're 100% back to normal. And so I thought I was going to go back to work and just be, like at 100%. And like my boss called me and was like, what can I take off your plate? I was like, no, I'm back. I'm fine. And he was like, And you called me and you were like, I just want to know, because you know me so well, what you have going on today and how much you're planning on doing. And then you even, I think, maybe automated some text messages to me. No, you actually took the time to send them. Sent me text messages throughout the day as a reminder to not be overdoing it. And when you're not always used to being in tune to yourself and what you need, to have friends who can help you set those boundaries and people that surround you to help you set those boundaries, I'm just incredibly grateful for. So I don't take it for granted, and it means a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it is one of those things like it's so easy to get wrapped up in the day and for it to like just swoop away from you. And I do think like when you're in the thick of it, right, and you're just sometimes you just trudge through whatever it is you have to get through, and you don't really realize how exhausted you are until after the fact.
Yeah.
And I didn't want you to get to that spot.
Yeah.
So that's why I was like, I'll just text her a few times throughout the day to just like time check.
And fortunately or unfortunately, I was just, I didn't even have the mental fortitude to just trudge through the day.
Yeah.
Like I would sit down I had to finish my taxes too. And it was like, on Friday night, I moved from work onto my taxes and I was trying to like add stuff up and I was like, I'm going to finish these tomorrow. I can't, math is really easy for me, but right now it's not. So
the struggle is real today.
too much brain usage already.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate just having people who care enough and know you well enough that they know that you're not the best with those boundaries, and they care enough to, in a way that doesn't feel like demeaning or reprimanding, help you softly, like set some good boundaries for self-care. So thank you.
You're welcome. And what a good transition.
Yeah. Speaking of, we wanted to talk today a little bit about self-care, right? I mean, we talk about self-care every week, but a little more directly.
Yeah, and I think like the reason I was thinking about this is like all the stuff that you went through this week, personally, professionally, a lot of things happening on this side as well. So it's like I was really trying to think like, how is it that I am practicing self-care in my life, besides just like talking about it, but like how am I actually creating the space, creating the time to allow myself to like hit that reset button. Or even it's not always reset, it's sometimes just like I need to step out of the noise for a little bit so that way I can re-engage in a more meaningful way.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you mentioned this topic to me, I was like, well, first of all, you were like, hey, you've had a rough week. So
Not sure if you're aware, but I think you had a rough week.
What if we're gonna record this weekend? Why don't we keep it a little more like easy? Less pre-work required, which I appreciate. That is a form of I guess, is that self-care? It's other care. Friend care? It's a
It's
form of
we
friend
care.
care. It's we care. I don't know. I've already said I think that you know everything that's in my brain already. So you and I together, I could consider you a part of myself. No, that doesn't work
weird. That's
that way.
weird.
Can you strike that? Can we strike that from the transcript? But when we were talking about this, I said, yeah, I'd love to talk about this. And in fact, one of the things that I have said is that preventing or managing your own burnout is really your accountability. It's your responsibility. And that's my hot take on burnout. And well, I think it's a hot take because I think a lot of people think burnout is something that happens to them. And burnout is something that's caused by, oh, my work is just so intense, or my boss, or the expectations, or like life gets so crazy, or kids need so much, or family, or, I don't know, name the 10 million other things that we have made up here in human culture to exhaust ourselves. And guys, like, we made all this up. This is the society we live in.
We literally are, the call is coming from within the house. Like it is, we are the problem.
Yeah, we are. Watching Hamilton and the whole monetary system, I'm like, we made this up. We made this up, guys.
This was an active choice.
So, I think we talk about burnout like it's something that happens to us. And one of the things that I really had to face a little more head on that I took the time to grapple with was like my own burnout. And like I got here, well, I think most people could see me heading in this direction before I could see myself heading there. But I got here through years of not having appropriate boundaries. And that's not a judgment against myself. There were a lot of coping skills that I put in place that enabled me to, get through tough situations. And but then sometimes you learn those coping skills become habits, and then they become your routine.
Yeah.
And if your routine is just a bunch of coping skills cobbled together, like you're on a DART train to bullet train to burnout. And so managing that and preventing burnout, or taking care of yourself, or recognizing and pulling back when it's happening, like you have to be accountable for that. And whether it's putting people in your life and talking to them about what you want, and asking them to help you recognize that, whether they're paid people like therapists or really good friends like you, or whether it's something that you can be aware of yourself, like you have to be accountable for that. So that's where I wanted to start the conversation. And I guess, I'll just pause and ask, like, what are your thoughts on my hot take here?
Oh, I absolutely agree. I think it is very easy to get wrapped up in the whirlwind that is happening around us. In fact, you and I had this conversation just about what I had going on in my life earlier this year, and you were trying to remind me, like, do you need to be there? Do you need to be doing that? Is there not someone else that could be doing that? And it's hard, like, in those moments, like, we would have those conversations, and I know that you're coming from a place of, like, I care about you, I want to make sure that you're taking care of yourself, but, like, in those moments when I'm so close to it, I'm just like, great, now Jen's making me feel stressed about it, like, it's one more thing. And in the moment, you have certain thoughts, feelings, and then as you move into that reflective state, it's like, no, that is sage advice, like, that is something you should be asking yourself. And I really liked how you said, like, those the coping skills, like, cobbled together into daily routine, because I do believe we do that as humans, like, and it's that routine because it's comfortable. Like, we then begin to know, okay, I can do this, I can make it through it. And it's like, right, but are we supposed to? Like, are we are we meant to take on that much? Are we meant to to try and climb that mountain all in one day? Like,
Oh, but we
I
gravitate towards it because it feels natural,
well, I
right?
also think a lot of times it's been rewarded, like to
Well, that's
show
true.
what you can overcome
Well,
or
it's
get
true,
through.
but it's also not true. It's both true and not true. Like multiple things can be rewarded. Um, and I think this goes a little bit toward the conversation we had. I don't know if it was last week or the week before, where we were talking about, sometimes you feel a little jealous of somebody that is like successful and they don't seem to be like slogging through it. And
Yeah.
it's like, okay, but like what? Like it's my own belief that my own underlying belief I'm not even, you know, aware of that is that I have to slog through it in order to
Yeah.
be successful. Like, but they're still getting rewarded, and it's because they have better boundaries. they have found, or they're just better at hiding it.
Well, I was just talking to someone about this yesterday around how living with more intention
Yeah.
versus just reaction is so important to finding that balance in life. And it's not easy because like living with intention means like in those moments being aware of all of the things. And look, I mean, just about every episode we talk about, it's like trying to, control what's happening in our brains, how that manifests in our bodies, and how to like be purposeful and how you're showing up and presenting yourself in moments. And if we have to be aware of them so that we can
Mm.
start showing up differently. And to me, that's the intention. Like we begin to understand, okay, in these moments, this is how I generally show up and I don't like that. So how do I change that? Like then you have to start like being aware, and then you have
Mhm.
to start putting those things into practice. And that to me is living with intention. And I think a lot of times people just go through it. Like I'll just apologize later instead of trying to, you know, change the behavior or change how I'm showing up. Or giving feedback to others to say, hey, not sure you're aware, but this is how you came off, or this is how this hit me. Like we sometimes just kind of like push that stuff aside and keep moving. Right, wrong, or indifferent. To me, I think if we have more intention in the way that we show up and live our lives, we potentially could have a little bit more of that balance and not be on that, bullet train to burnout.
Yeah, the bullet train to burnout. Um, I have to say, so I was making my list of what are the things that I do to practice self-care. And naturally there are things on my list that you will find when you Google, any, you know, any list of things you can do for self-care.
Yeah.
But often, and I have done this because, I've been searching for that answer that doesn't seem to be there, that doesn't seem to be obvious. And you just get tons of little articles or lists that tell you get a massage, take a day off, go to the park, spend time with friends, like the normal things, right?
Yeah.
And I think I had reached a point in my life a while back where I finally was ready to acknowledge that I had been for many years already living in this place where um like I would do all of those things, and really they weren't helping me find balance and happiness.
Yeah.
They were keeping me out of a mental institution. I mean, frankly, they were keeping me just two steps back from the brink of a full mental breakdown.
Okay.
And I mean, honestly, I feel like I spent a lot of years living right on the edge of a mental breakdown and learning how to walk that balance beam really well. I may not have good physical balance, but my internal balancing beam of being able to hold it together is pretty good. And you start to notice that when pressure comes. So, we had the house fire happen, and here I am like having full on panic attacks and not knowing that it is a panic attack. Um, but like when you are sitting on the floor rocking back and forth and you have to like you can't talk to anybody, you can't like your body is fully shutting down. Yeah, that's a full-on panic
Maybe,
attack.
could be,
Could be.
maybe.
I remember you actually were in town, I think dealing with some family stuff, and you came by and I was a mess. Um, and I remember being a mess. And I remember apologizing for being a mess. I still can't believe like you want to be friends with me after that. And I'm like, I don't know what I was going through, but like I was probably in a panic attack that I was trying to ignore and not managing when you came over. I don't know if you remember that, but I
I
remember
don't.
it. I'm so glad. Let's not go back. Um, but
We just keep moving forward.
we just keep moving forward. And so, where was I going? I've distracted myself in this, but I think the first thing that we have to do is just become aware. Like that's the first part of self-care is being willing to start listening to yourself and being really honest about where are you actually at, like whether it's physical, like listening to your body physically, what's going on. I have mentioned it before, but like the most real example where I realized that I have one of my coping skills has been to ignore what is happening with me physically. And everyone else probably observing could have told you this about me, but I didn't know this about me. Here we are on our way to the Pride Kelso Festival, and I am like anxious. And I'm like, my palms are sweaty. I feel sick. I'm, listing my litany of physical things going on. I don't feel well. Maybe I'm not well. And you were like, Jen, I think you're anxious. Like,
Well, the giveaway to me sitting in the seat behind you, and like you're saying all of the things, I can't really see you because you're sitting in front of me, but your leg is bouncing and the car is literally like
okay, but my leg does always bounce.
Yes, it does.
Sometimes it means anxious, sometimes it means excitement, sometimes it means really honed in. Probably the veracity with which I don't know.
Correct. Like, because I do know you. Like, we have literally sat in conference rooms next to each other in stressful situations. Like, we know one another. But in this instance, like putting all these pieces together, it was like, are you okay? Like, what is actually, are we really sick? Like,
and I'm fine. No, I've got this. I'm fine. No, I was really, really anxious. And, but that's a normal thing for me when I'm getting ready to go to a place where there's tons of people and I feel like out of my element to be nervous. In fact, I've canceled on a few like fun plans I planned for myself because I just got too stressed.
Yeah.
But I wasn't canceling on this because this wasn't just for me.
Right.
And, I'm really glad we went. It was amazing. It was so much fun, but I needed you to pull me out of that moment and go, let's have some awareness. And so I have repeatedly gone back to that moment and said, okay, like, what have I learned when I feel these things? Like, this is what it feels like inside my body. This is how, just starting to reacquaint myself with those physical feelings and what that means to how I'm emotionally feeling and making that connection. Should get a gold star from my therapist for working on that. But I think that's self-care, like being willing to do that. That's self-care, because I was in a place where I was like, how frequent does my massage appointment need to be? I go to a massage once a month. I go on my daily walk. I repeat positive affirmations. I call a friend to, like express how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
I, focus on eating the right things. I do drink all the water. Like I'm doing all the things, and yet I still feel like I need self-care. I'm still Googling what's the secret to self-care. And I think where I had to start was awareness and listening to my body physically and listening to myself emotionally. And what is it that I'm trying to ignore or suppress? Because that was a really effective coping skill.
Yeah. I think when I think of self-care, and I do think like there's a list, right? Like you're right. You Google it and there's the list of things that it tells you. And as much as I think it's helpful, like maybe a place to start or maybe some things to ruminate on, like self-care is very personal. So like as you were doing like that inventory of like, whenever I'm in that moment, what am I feeling? What is my body doing? Like you have to understand what you need, like what your body is trying to tell you. And then how do you get that? So if, for example, like you can have friends and you can love spending time with them, but being with them may not always be refilling or may not always be something that gives you the energy that you need. But yet we're told like, well, self-care is spending time with people that you love or that you enjoy spending time with. That may not always be true. Like, and that's not a bad thing. It's just an acknowledgement that that may not be the thing that you need in that moment. And be aware of that.
Well, and I think you have to have an awareness for the routine list of things that help you manage self-care going to address symptoms or the problem?
Oh, that's really good.
So like, are we writing prescriptions here to treat the symptoms or are we addressing the problem? And sometimes they address the problem. Sometimes you're just, you've had a stressful week. It's not anything you're really carrying around, and going and getting a massage and working out those knots addresses the problem.
Yeah.
But sometimes when you carry that stress around and as soon as it goes away, it comes right back and those muscles knot right back up, maybe you're just addressing the symptoms. And that's why you're asking, how many yoga classes do I have to go to? How, I walk a 5K every morning and it's not fixing it. I do my affirmations and, it's better, but it's not fixing it. I'm, like how much do I have to do?
Yeah.
And then you're almost like burning out over trying not to burn out.
Yeah. It's like the stress comes in a whole different. I'm stressed about not relaxing correctly. Like,
oh my gosh. You just said the phrase that I think would describe my entire life. I remember being in high school, middle school, high school, I think high school, maybe middle school. And the dentist being like, you just need to relax. And then I got even more stressed over the fact that I'm like damaging my teeth because I can't relax. But like, hello, if I knew how to do it, I'd be doing it.
Yeah, I think that is a really big thing. And I read the book, The 5 a.m. Club. I am not part of the 5 a.m. Club. It's not nothing. My dog wants me to be, but
that title was not written for me.
But part of it does talk about like there's a level of self-care involved in your like trying to set up habits and routines that will set you up for success and happiness. And it's finding that balance. And so I remember in the book, the guy, it's said through a parable, and the kind of teacher was telling people like you should get a deep tissue massage at least once a week. Number one. And number two, you should do something that is physically taxing on yourself. So whether it's working out, going for a walk, walking when it's cold outside, like something that is uncomfortable to you, because it kind of like resets the nervous system in the fact that like, oh, I can do this, then I can, like, it just helps kind of bring that level of
tissue massage once a week.
Yes, because his point being, like, if you're going to put so much time, energy, and effort on these external things, you also need to create that space for yourself.
Yeah.
And so I think, when people go to massages, my massage therapist loves to tell me, like, just fall asleep. I have a hard time falling asleep on a massage table. But it is one of those things, like, I try to focus on my breathing. I try to focus on, like...
It is a lot of work to relax. Let me just...
It is.
Some people don't think that. I think that. So maybe that's a part of what I'm trying to fix.
Right. But, and I think like that's what I'm saying is like, no matter whatever that activity is, hanging out with friends, going for a massage, like whatever that litany of list of things is, like, it's a list of things to, I think, try and get you out of like your daily routine that potentially like brings stress or like allows it to creep in. But part of me is also like being present with yourself. And I remember taking a yoga class for the first time, and it was really hard. I'd never done yoga before. And it was like the beginner's class, and it was hot in the room.
Oh,
which
was it
I
hot yoga?
don't, it was not hot yoga,
It was
but I
just
think
hot in the
more
room.
people had shown up than they were expecting, so they weren't able to like
It's a little
get
warm.
the air correct. But I just remember being like super uncomfortable and then like,
Like pop out my personal fan.
right. Well, so then I can't do like I don't have the flexibility for some of the poses. And the instructor was so nice, like did not make me feel and was trying to provide options for anyone else in the room. But I was like a row back from where she was. So obviously she can see me clearly. So she's like bringing bricks over and like helping prop me and put me in certain positions. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, why am I doing this to myself? Like, I'm not enjoying this. I don't know what I'm doing. My mind is racing. I like have 20 other things that I need to be doing right now. And then it just like, I don't know what it was. I don't know if she was like, okay, let now take a deep cleansing breath. Or she said something that to me was like, oh, this is the point. Like, put it away. Put it away for now. Be present. Focus on your body. Focus on your muscles.
Yeah.
Focus on the pose. Like it is meant to give you a singular train of thought so that you can just be present. And I personally have a really hard time with that, no matter what the scenario is. Like if it's
Focus
in a
on my body.
massage,
That is the
yoga.
last thing I want to do. And so that might be part of the problem, right? To address. But I'm going to use the M word here. Meditate. That's on my
Yeah.
list of self-care items. But I'm gonna caveat that. When I think about meditation and I think about what it means to meditate, I get really stressed about doing it correctly and how I struggle to do it correctly. And, then you go kind of on this journey of reading all these things but in the back of my mind, I'm still like judging myself for not being able to meditate properly. And so I'm going to redefine meditation here for a minute. Um I'm going to say meditating is really about spending some time listening to what it is that you're really trying to tell yourself that you're trying to avoid. um, so it like there's guided meditation where you like listen to somebody else and go on their journey. But what about doing like a little self-guided inventory meditation where you just it's not about keeping your mind blank. It's about like really spending some time with yourself, thinking about how am I actually feeling? And if what you come back with is, I don't know what I'm feeling, then maybe you start thinking about, well, why don't I know what I'm feeling? Why is that uncomfortable for me? And just spending some time letting whatever comes up come up in a safe, quiet space with yourself, and then working through that without judgment. And I think that is a form of meditation. It may not be my favorite thing to do, but that because it feels uncomfortable until you
even
build
just
a
listening,
routine.
even just listening to you say that, like I feel anxious, like hearing that, like carving out the time, going into a quiet space, and then
it's not about time and it's not about space because we take the time to watch all the TV shows. We, have the space to do that. Like it's not really about time and space. I tell myself the same things. That's not what it's about because those are the excuses that allow us to not hold ourselves accountable. But I will say it makes me nervous to do that because I don't know if I'm ready to hear what it is that I'm trying to tell myself. And so maybe just take it baby steps. Maybe work with a therapist and talk to them about that and have them guide you through it. But also, I think being prepared to be really kind to yourself. But I do think there's some accountability. That's my second thing. So the M word, meditation, well, self-awareness, we talked about that. Meditation, accountability, I think is self-care. So I do this thing all the time, Chris, where I say, I just don't have enough time. I just took 10 months off. I had whatever time I wanted to have to do with whatever I wanted to do. And I can no longer use the time excuse and try and fool myself into thinking it's about time because it wasn't about time. It was never
Yeah.
about the time. And I get it. Like sometimes we are stressed and then we don't, I think more than time, it's about mental and emotional and physical capacity. Like, is it really a time issue, or is it I've worked all day and it's the end of the day and I don't have any more mental, physical, emotional capacity
Yeah.
left? And so I just want to sit and check out for a while. And if that's the case, then your form of self-care may be in that moment to sit and check out, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But I think another form of self-care is finding some space, even if it's 10 minutes once a week, to hold yourself accountable to, okay, this is the rhythm and the routine I'm on. Is this leading to my happiness or is this leading to my burnout?
Yeah.
And if this is leading to my burnout, what's within my control that I can change? Because we all have agency of ourselves.
Right. And I totally hear what you're saying about like the time constraints, that those are things that we put on ourselves. But I think how you just put that, like, there's sometimes it is a real barrier. Like, I know that recently I had a lot of going on. And so it was hard, like trying to carve out time from, like, really my time to myself was eating dinner with my husband and going to bed and then getting up and starting the whole journey all over again.
Yeah.
So I do want to say, like, I do believe it is truly real. I don't have children. I don't have like extracurricular activities that require me to, that are not just my schedule. So it is very easy for me to, like, say, carve out time and create that space. But I know in many instances, especially with young children, some of that is like watching those TV shows, reading those books with them. And like, although that may be nourishing and filling your cup in a certain way, that also, like, how are you creating time for yourself to refill your cup how you want it refilled?
Right. Well, and while I wish we could actually create time,
Wouldn't that be convenient?
Well, I mean, I don't know. If I could create time, I'd probably still be not have enough time. Because again, I think it's not really about time. I do think my third thing, it comes back to boundaries. We have a whole 2 episodes talking about boundaries. So if boundary is a dirty word in your house, you might want to join in on that conversation. But I really do think, as much as I reluctantly read that book and complained about it the entire time, the concept is something that I really needed to work on. And Nedra had some things to say that I really needed to hear. And I'm grateful for that. And, I'm grateful to have a therapist that recommended it to me. But, I do think that we do often make time the excuse when it's a boundary issue. So, like, I may feel like my calendar is managing me, but that's because I am not setting proper boundaries, and I can actually take the time. And when I've pushed myself into uncomfortable spaces to test that, I know it's true. I mean, there was a point several years ago, pre-pandemic, where I was so busy and had so much going on and so many early morning meetings and that trying to burn the candle at all the ends that I was like on conference calls in portions where I didn't have to talk while I was taking a shower, just to fit a shower in. But that was not a time issue. That was a boundary issue. And so I do think, like, if we're running out of time, then what is it that we're taking on that maybe we shouldn't be? And how do we set those boundaries with confidence instead of feeling guilty, and give ourselves the space to prioritize the things that are most important? Because oftentimes what we're doing is prioritizing ourselves last. And if we don't put our own oxygen mask on first, then we're not going to be around to put on anybody else's oxygen mask.
Right.
But instead, we're busy putting everybody else's oxygen mask on because it's the thing we feel like we have to do. It's more comfortable. Like, frankly, to put on other people's oxygen mask feels a lot more comfortable than to wear one myself. And sensory issues and all of that,
No, No, but I do think it's easier to help others through whatever they may be going through because it's an outsider's perspective, right? It's not,
Yeah.
we're not having to look at my life under a microscope.
That's 1,000% yes. And so the analogy that I think of often when talking about this concept is my phone. Like our phones cost so much money these days, but they're like full on computers in our hand, and I use it for like every part of my life. And I remember years ago having this conversation with my husband and saying, like, oh my gosh, why would I spend that much money on a phone? And he said, you use that phone for like every part of your life, every single day. If you think about it proportionately, it's really like not that much money.
Yeah. Like if you were to take the price of that phone and divide it by every single time you reach for
like
it to solve a problem.
The number of uses versus the number of other things that I'll spend money on and I
Correct.
don't use nearly as much or rely on nearly as much or get as much out of.
Right.
And that made perfect sense to me. Of course, address me with logic. That's the way to go. And so I get it. That clicked. It made sense. And so I use that analogy with myself oftentimes when I think, when I think about what am I making time for? It feels like the cost is high, and yet, I'm with me every day.
Yeah, that's so true. So let's talk. So these are great ways of like the awareness factor of, becoming aware of the situation, trying to understand what you are needing to either have that break, have that reset, create a boundary maybe if needed.
I have one more to
you
add.
have one more. Oh my gosh, this is a 4-step process.
Well, it's not steps.
It's not a process.
It's not a process. It's just this is my list. It's my self-care list that you don't find when you go looking on the internet. But it might be the list that you need if you're still Googling the same thing. Looking for an answer that you're not finding. And then we'll get to the actual list, of
the things,
tactical things. But these are the real things. The listen to yourself, the the boundaries, the meditation, that dirty M word, but in a different way than what you would normally think about. Accountability. So realistic expectations. That's the last one I'll throw in here. Because if you have spent 5 minutes inside my head, 2 minutes inside my head, you would know that I want to go do all of these things and then feel like, okay, well, I know them, so I should just execute them and I should do it flawlessly every time from the beginning. And my expectations are, whenever I begin to learn something new, my expectations are generally incredibly misaligned, not because I have an ego, but because, if you're not first, you're last. And the only answer is excellence. And, not meeting the excellent bar is just failure, and that's unacceptable. So that's probably something I should spend the M word with,
sure.
meditate on a little bit. But set realistic expectations as you are practicing self-care. And I mean that from you just said the 5 a.m. club book says get a deep tissue massage once a week. Like if I set an expectation to get a deep tissue massage once a week, I'm going to be stressed about that because how am I going to fit that in? Like from a budget, from a time, that just feels like a lot. For some people that might be realistic. For me, that feels completely unrealistic. So what I'm not going to do is say, oh, all of a sudden I'm going to spend 10 minutes every single day meditating. I can find 10 minutes in a day. Well, sure, I can find 10 minutes in a day, but do I have the emotional and mental capacity to do that for 10 minutes every day? I abso-freaking-lutely don't. Let us be realistic. And so why don't I start with 10 minutes once a week? And then just say, you know what, this is a kindness to myself.
Yeah.
Instead of I'm going to go be the best at it that there ever was. If you've watched Pokemon, It's the theme song. Yeah, we're not trying to be like Ash and be the best there ever was. We're just trying to do a little better by ourselves. So be realistic, set realistic expectations.
Yeah, and I do think like that is whenever I start a new hobby, I just expect I'm going to be amazing at it straight out of the gate. Shocker. I'm usually not.
Like the first half of the first season of our podcast.
Right.
But you know what? We did it anyway. We did it anyway.
But it's having that realistic, in that example, like we were realistic knowing we've never done this before. Like we were real in the fact like we had insecurities about this.
Oh, we sure did. And it was hard.
Yeah.
And uncomfortable. And I was like apologizing to people when I was telling them about the podcast. Yes, I have a podcast, but I'm so sorry. You know, it's like, we're just learning. We're learning. It's okay. I mean, you don't have to listen, but if you do, I'd be grateful, but that's okay. It's okay. It's okay. But I'm sorry. I know we're going to get better. It's okay. We're just learning. That was like, that was real. That was really what I told people.
I know we've known each other for so long at this point, but there are still some times when I'm just like, how, what? Like, not in a bad way, just like in a, like.
Does that surprise you?
A little bit. Like, I don't, and maybe it's because like to me, this is like it's our hobby. Like we did this because we're passionate about the conversations that we're having. It's not like, I don't know. It's not like my job. It's not like I personally believe like, things of creative expression, art, music, podcasts, books, like they find their audience and they're going to connect.
No, I was terrified that I was going to be seen and found lacking. Like in The Knight's Tale, you have been weighed, you have been measured. I think that like that's a really big sign that you're not doing enough self affirmation, self-worth providing.
Yeah.
And so you're very vulnerable to what other people think. But absolutely, I was like ready for everybody to be like, who do you think you are that you can do this? And look, you're not even good at it.
First of all, how dare you?
It's very vulnerable. But
second,
I did it.
Why don't you come on and show us how to do it better?
I did it anyways. I did it anyways. That's why I was physically ill after recording for the first like month. Sometimes you just have to do things scared.
Yep, you do. And you figure it out. Like, I think whenever you go through all of this, and again, I go back to this idea of being intentional with how we are treating ourselves, how we want to show up to others. Like, if you just show up and you're magically wonderful and like you're all the things to all the people, like lucky you, because I'm still trying to achieve that. But I do think there is just this level of, as we continue to live, and we all come from different walks of life that inform us on who we are and how we've gotten to this place. Like, I don't know. I don't think it's always like we aren't perfectly human and a perfect adult by the age of 25. It's not like done. But yet I feel like a lot of time in society, it's like, I don't know if it's like a lack of curiosity or just maybe it's just a lack of motivation, bandwidth to continue on this journey of self-evolution or self-discovery, maybe even like a deeper layer of yourself that you didn't really know you had. And I've said this before, but I think I realized a new layer to myself having moved from Texas to New York, a new level of resiliency that I didn't even realize that I had. And so whenever you put yourself in these situations to go outside of your comfort zone, you do begin to discover new things about yourself. And I think that's what I want people to do. Like, go within. What are the pieces and parts that feel uncomfortable, or when you're in certain situations, you're like, oh, I don't know if this is for me. And ask why.
Well, change happens outside your comfort zone. It doesn't
Right.
happen when you're feeling. You just have to learn to be uncomfortable and that you're going to be okay. And I really think it's about what this concept we talked about, with hope. It's hope isn't the belief that everything is going to work out just fine the way you want it to. It's the belief that no matter what happens, you're going to find a way through it.
Yeah.
You're going to make it. And I think learning that through this podcast, that concept, that way to sort of pivot the way that I think about things, like that's how you get comfortable with change, is by continuing to put yourself in these positions where, hey, I'm doing something different and I don't know how it's going to work out. And then you pause and celebrate when maybe it didn't work out the way you wanted, but you survived it. You made it. You came out better for it. Or, maybe not. And you learned something and then
Right.
you applied that. And so maybe you did ultimately, if you zoom out far enough, come out better for it. So, but I also think that like this desire to be the best at everything from the beginning, probably a coping mechanism learned, to this really negative, like being your own harshest critic, probably
Yeah.
a coping mechanism, because if you criticize yourself more severely and first, like you cut off somebody else's ability to do that.
Right.
So,
You
probably
can't hurt me. I'm already my toughest critic.
yeah. So probably some things to put on my M word list, my meditation list, and reflect on. But I'm going to be kind to myself and say, you know what, we don't have to address all of those right now, just in
Right.
time when we're ready. But let's go on to the list of like, okay, I Googled it, and here are the things that I like to do to self-care. So once you get all of these kind of internal things, because you got to treat the problem, not just the symptoms.
Right.
What are some of the things that I do when I don't have a deeper problem that I'm avoiding, or when that I am?
I am avoiding. No.
So what about you?
So I think the first thing that I've recently really started focusing on is like my intake of like daily news things, like not just daily news, but also like interactions through like social media or television, whatever. And for me, what I was finding, like, how long should I be on social media? How, like, you're always looking for what is the best, whatever. What I finally started doing with myself is if I came across something on social media that either irritated, frustrated me, whatever, I'd be done. And I don't consider it like sticking my head in the sand and ignoring what is happening around me. I am being purposeful on protecting myself, because a lot of times it's whenever I'm either commuting into the office or coming home. And so that's either setting up my day in how I'm going to see the world, or it's going to be the way that I'm wrapping up my day and now my spouse gets to experience
That's not just
this
self-care.
version
That's
of me.
frank care. That's frank care. Don't read the internet on your way home. That's just frank care. That's a kindness to others.
Yeah. So I think for me, it's like being more intentional around the content that I don't have a magic answer. Is it 5 minutes? Is it 10 minutes? I don't know. If I'm scrolling through and it's all just like the videos that make me laugh, make me feel good, seeing pictures of my friends, great. I'll keep doing it. But the second I see something that like enrages me or potentially is rage bait that's been put out there, I'm like, nope, closing the app. We're done.
And I think you have to be willing to have some level of self-awareness and be listening to yourself, because often I find that I'm already down the path on that journey before I've even like checked into how I'm feeling. Like you got to approach a little less subconscious mode and a little more intentional mode.
Exactly.
I love that. What else?
I have really been trying to be in the moment around like stretching my mind into different directions that I've usually not like leaned into too hard. So we've talked about how I've been into books, especially audiobooks. I used to just like listen to music as I was heading in or out of wherever I was headed. And now I'm trying to incorporate more content that is not so much just music.
Yeah.
So I've read a few books lately that have absolutely been inspirational, and just great pieces of work and art that I have not, I guess, like consumed in a way before. And so I have a new appreciation for it. And so I just finished reading the book Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And it's a historical fiction book that is all about space and
Oh,
like becoming an astronaut. So I really think that you should read that one, and we should do a book review on it, because I do think there's so much good content in it. So I
okay.
finished it.
All right.
I had actually
Atmosphere.
Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I had texted my aunt about a book I had just finished, and really, really liked, and sent it to her. And then she sent this
She
back to me.
recommended this one. Okay,
And
well, I have to get my library card fixed.
get the library card fixed, because I finished it and then I immediately started listening to it again, because I'm like,
Oh,
I want
a
to go
second
back and
time.
hear. The way she has told this story is phenomenal.
All
So
right.
highly recommend that one.
Atmosphere. All right. I love that. So I know you do music, books.
Music. Well, interestingly enough, on Friday, I found myself, like, I had been scrolling and I found like this little video vignette of like, um you know, there's people out who like make this joke, and whether it's you find it funny or not, it's like, I've been kidnapped and the kidnapper let me choose the music, and it was all about the Rent soundtrack. And so, like, the person who kidnapped is like sitting behind the wheel, but the person who's been kidnapped is in the back seat, like putting on a concert of like Rent and singing all the songs. And so I was like, oh, I forgot how much I love that music. It sent me on this journey of going back through music that has like just sparks joy and excitement. And so, as Frank was cooking us dinner, I was like going through the actual movies, like listening to the music, and like just feeling all of those good feels that, that I
Yeah.
used to have. And I was by myself. I mean, Ollie was with me, but I don't know. It felt like um exciting. It felt singing along. I don't know. Like it just brought so much joy.
I mean, musicals has always been like, feel like in your playlist.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like, but I do also love to listen to I like to listen like in the shower. I like to, turn on the music and
Yeah,
just it's like a guilty pleasure. And then I'm like, why is this guilty? I don't know. But
not
um
guilty at all.
I know you've also been going and getting a massage a little more frequently. That's
Yes.
a good self-care.
Self-care, that one has been very
Mhm.
purposeful. I'm of the age where you don't really have to do anything to hurt yourself anymore. So I basically slept on my neck wrong and had to go. So I've been doing massage therapy, and the massage therapist has actually taught me a lot about like the things happening inside and my
Oh,
muscles.
that's so
And
good.
yesterday, she was focusing on my feet, which usually she doesn't do, but she had also been focusing a lot on my lower back. And so when she got to my foot, I was like, is that a muscle? Is that a knot? Like, what is that? And she's like, your muscle down here is very tight because your lower back is very tight. And I was like, I
It's
had no
all
idea that my feet would tell you about my lower back. Like,
it's all connected. It's crazy, isn't it?
I know.
Going to the doctor is self-care. Going whether it's Eastern medicine, Western medicine,
Yeah.
whatever, like that's self-care. I went to the doctor this past week. The doctor told me to go to the hospital. I did that, and I am taking credit for that being self-care because I wanted to avoid the all of it.
Yeah.
But I didn't. And so
You persevered.
I cared for myself. Um I I also think chiropractic is self-care. That's one of the things
Absolutely.
that I do to practice self-care. And it's so funny that I ended up with the same chiropractor that you had when you were here. But Dr. DeVos, he is phenomenal and has like totally given me my life back. This chronic pain that I was in from an injury, um, that he helps keep really well managed for me. And my choice was between this really invasive surgery that causes problems in the future. So I'm far too young to get it. Or like just continuing to live in this chronic pain. And he actually did what many others couldn't do and figured out what was going on and how to help me manage this pain.
Yeah.
Which is incredible. And like for me, what I've had to learn is I actually have to make time and prioritize going. So he and I have a lot of conversation about this because before I would say, "Oh, like I don't want to like be here too much and just be too much about it," or "Oh, I'm working and I don't want to make the time to leave and go because it's not like his hour. He does have hours outside of normal work hours, but sometimes I don't work normal work hours either." And so, like just making the time and the priority to go. And I
Yeah.
would wait until I was far too bad. And then I would go in and he'd be able to fix it, but it wouldn't hold as well. And so, he and I have been working on holding myself accountable to going in before I get to that point
Right.
so that I can have a better quality of life. That's self-care. So don't put yourself last on the
Yeah.
list. Put yourself first on the list. Um, I also like cozy games. I'm a cozy gamer. So I've been doing some of that this weekend. I did my taxes, which I did not like, and I did them and I paid my money and I have moved on with my life. And so then I decided to play a cozy game. So I went back to Palia, which is one that I had been playing before. And I really was enjoying that. I stayed up a little late last night playing it
Which one
because
is that
I
one
wanted
again?
to. It's like you can hunt and gather my inventory. No shock. Like in every game that has a
Inventory
limit on
management.
inventory, my inventory is full and it's very stressful, but I was able to get a recipe for a bigger storage chest. So, there's new things to discover, and Adventure Gen loves to discover new things. That's what I love about cozy games is like the questing and the discovery of new worlds and
Yeah.
new things to gather it's like this free open source game that you can play. It's terrible on the Switch. It's so slow. I should play it on my computer instead. But yeah, but I enjoy playing it. So that's fun. Um, I also I going back to the doctor theme, I think a form of self-care is medicating. I started taking anxiety meds and I was very anxious about taking anxiety meds, as you know. And in fact, once I was prescribed them and just carried them around in my purse because I was too stressed about taking them. And we all had a laugh about that. But I did finally listen to the doctor and get on. And I had to switch some around, and it wasn't without its challenges. There was a reason I was stressed about it, but working with my care team to take things to help me
Yeah.
actually be better. So I think that's a form of self-care. I drink these CBD drinks, which I actually really like. Um, and by a Bliss CBD drinks. And I have found my chiropractor actually told me about these. I have found that these like really help me manage some of my anxiety without feeling, like weird or different
Yeah.
or whatever, but they just kind of take some of
Like takes the edge off.
it takes the edge off and like lets you just come down a little bit, but it's not
Yeah.
like it's like being high. I would not enjoy that. Just
I don't think
CBD.
you would either.
That's a journey none of us need to go on. That is not self-care for me. Like do whatever you do, but that is not my thing.
You're right.
But and then affirmations. I'm wearing my shirt today from Fabulous Favorite Finds, fabfavefinds.etsy.com. It says, "You're doing better than you think." And I love to wear this shirt because then it's not like I look in the mirror that much, but people will read it and say it back to me. And so
Yeah.
it's like getting other people to give me an affirmation,
Yeah.
but I'm also giving it to them, right? It's
You're
just a
sharing it with the
reminder.
world. Yeah.
It's hard to be in a negative headspace constantly when you are wearing something to pull you out of that headspace.
Yeah.
So just that physical reminder.
Yeah. I love that.
That's what's on my list. I go for a walk. I've been avoiding that with the allergy season, and so I need to get back to that because I know that my morning walk outside, not on a treadmill, that does not that's not do it for me.
Doesn't have the same impact for you.
It just really doesn't. Ace loves to go to the gym, and I just that is a chore. But to go for a walk outside, get to see the birds. I talk to the ducks down by the pond. I'm sure that's not a surprise. Oh my gosh, how could I forget? My camera is self-care. Anytime that I am feeling like just really stressed or like it's been a really like I'm struggling or
Yeah.
whatever, I just take my camera, get my husband to drive me around, go take pictures of pretty things.
And you find joy in it. Like, I think
I do.
that's the and for me, like, I know, I mean, I don't know this, but like that's time that you and Ace get to spend together and doing
Oh, well,
something
I don't
beyond
know.
just
He just kind of stands there and holds my bags for me. I'm like totally zoned in on what I'm doing, so
That's
I don't know
true.
about that.
Well,
But
so Frank and I have been watching the show The Pit on HBO
oh,
Max.
do you like it?
We love it. You absolutely cannot watch that. You will.
The nurse at the hospital told me to watch it. I
Okay,
was like,
well,
I don't think that's for me.
I don't think it is either. But for us, it absolutely is. And that one and Shrinking on Apple TV.
I love
You
Shrinking.
told me about Shrinking. I don't
love
remember you
Shrinking.
telling me about it, but there's
But then
apparently
I told
footage.
you that I told you about it. There's footage
Yes.
of it. Did you go back and watch the footage?
No. And then, but I got into it because one of my colleagues was talking about it, and so I started
It's a wedge
watching
salad.
it.
I see the wedge
And
salad.
I like clever writing, great cast, like all the things. And what I forget like that it comes out like on a weekly basis, and so like I haven't watched TV in that way in such a long time, like. But now it's to like where I come home on Wednesday nights, and I think it's Wednesday night, Wednesday or Thursday night, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's Shrinking night. And then on Friday night Wednesday is Shrinking, Thursday is The Pit, and like I just remember like whenever I got home on Thursday night, and Frank and I were like, oh my gosh, we were excited, like it was something to be excited about, and like we got to share it together, so it's a fun thing for us to like look forward to. So
oh my gosh, I am just a jerk. I take it for granted. How could I forget? Like literally spending time with the love of my life, my husband, is absolutely self-care for me. Like not just time, sometimes just time being together. We don't have to talk about anything. Like just literally physically being in his presence. I wish his camera was on so I could see his little face right now, but literally being in his presence he's like, I'm in your presence even when you're not in my presence because I listen to your podcast to produce it all the time. He says what he's doing there, but like I just being in his presence is it like makes me feel safe and secure and loved and calm, and like even when I'm not calm it makes me calmer and
yeah, could
like
you imagine if you
happy
didn't have him in those instances? Like
no, I don't.
the
I think
world, watch
not
out.
only would I be too much for everybody else, I would be too much for myself as well.
I love and adore you, but I totally agree with that statement.
Self-care is traveling with Ace when I have to travel because I can make it through a flight so much better with him than without him. But probably to the outsider, it looks like I do just fine by myself because I got to keep it all in. Can't be crazy.
That is the thing. Like you really do have a way of like it's not compartmentalizing. It's like however you do it,
shove it
like
down in there.
But like you're aware, and so
Zip it up.
and so I know you, and so I know like when certain things are in a certain way, but like I don't know, like I just think it's fascinating looking back at, before we really like had our friendship, like you really had like you fake it well.
I know Chris used to tell me, our old boss used to tell me, you just keep it so zipped up all the time. You're just so zipped up all the time. And I was like, what else am I supposed to be?
Right.
Like,
do I have an option to unzip? Like,
I gotta be. Isn't that what I'm supposed to be doing? Like, I
Right.
didn't say that back to him, but that's what I'm thinking inside my head. And like, those are, some words that have stuck with me, like just so zipped up. And so as I've been on this journey, especially this, last couple of years, it's like, oh, like, what does that mean that I keep it all zipped up. I'm just pushing it down further
Yeah.
and further, like willing myself to not have feelings. Because they're very inconvenient. Let me just tell you.
Well, that is not self-care. Ignoring
It's
your
not.
feelings, stuffing them down, that is not the self-care that we are
It's not
embracing.
self-care. It will put you on the bullet train to burnout. Let me
That's
tell
right.
you.
And that is what we're avoiding.
If you are not listening to your feelings, you will be on the bullet train to burnout.
Yep.
It's going to come in the least convenient time. So maybe you should schedule time for a little mini meltdown. Otherwise, you're going to melt down when you wish you wouldn't. Like that video we all watched during the pandemic of that woman throwing groceries from her grocery cart at people in the supermarket because she didn't want to wear a mask. And then, like, I remember watching that, of course, being like everybody else, like, really get over yourself about the mask, but going, this is not about a mask. So, whatever is going on in this woman's life, bless her heart, because the internet has captured her moment.
Yeah.
And, we've all had a moment.
Absolutely.
I've had more than one. It wasn't throwing cans in a grocery store. But I have had more than one moment that I wish I could take back. And this poor woman did it on the internet. I was like, ooh, how do you go back into work or the school line or whatever her day is after that? How do you go home to your husband, wife?
Well, she probably got back home before it went viral, but then it probably didn't last much longer after that.
You just like hide under the bed? Like, what do you do? I mean, I don't know. So if you don't schedule time for a mini meltdown.
You know what? Maybe schedule some meditation time to try and avoid a meltdown moment.
I call it a mini meltdown, but you got to have time to feel your feelings. My therapist once told me I should like take a hammer and hit some wood or break things. Or I really do think going to one of those
smash rooms
would be fun. But I also think I don't know. That feels vulnerable. So I don't know if I would want people to watch me like just lose it.
I would need you to be like in full covering head to toe.
Well, that's what they do. They like make sure you're safe.
Yeah, well, I need like another layer for you, like bubble wrap.
Like I would end up hitting myself in the face with whatever hammer. Yeah.
It's not like it's the freak thing that would happen. Like you would hit an object, it would go flying,
a piece of
it would
pottery.
ricochet. Right. That's how I would see that.
I have
unfolding.
often said, like, I have these vases I've collected over the years from all the flowers Ace has given me that I no longer need because I have too many of them. And I like tried to sell them at a garage sale for like $2 a piece or something. And I'm like, I should just break these. But he's like, no, then we'd have to clean up all the glass. And then, like I really just need, well, it's dirty to get into a empty garbage bin, like those big bins, but like
be the first thing to ever go in it.
Yeah, brand new one. Come off the line.
Yeah. Just be standing and waiting. Okay, I think
these services that clean your trash cans? I wonder if I could get a cleaned one. Also,
I'm sure you could.
Also, I should totally have the people come clean the no, that's too much. That's too much. Might be self-care.
Maybe. Well, we appreciate you all going on this journey with us, trying to avoid the bullet train to burnout.
Yes, we do.
And we would love to hear from all of you. How do you manage this? Or what are the tools that you've put in place to help yourself manage it? I truly believe this is not a one size fits all experience. And Jen, I think the way that you kind of approach this and the like seeking to understand yourself, what you're needing, how these things show up is like such a good way to frame this up, because I think it just pushes the point that like even the self-care that we need may change as struggles happen or as we are in different scenarios. So Great. That was a great way to
Aw.
tee it up today.
Thanks. I appreciate that. Thanks for going on this journey with me. I think this podcast is a form of self care
Yeah.
because certainly it pushes me to think and talk about things that I would not otherwise be thinking and talking about that help me become a better version of me. And to get to do that alongside you makes it safe. So thank you.
Yeah.
And we absolutely want you guys to be a part of this too. So come on this journey with us. Like, subscribe, comment, send us an email, check out our website, www.chrisandjenitm.com. And, we'd love to hear from you. But
Yeah.
until next time, be kind to yourself, to one another, and make it a great week.
Bye, everyone.